All right, would like to call the meeting to order tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Ullum.
Yes.
Odie. Yes. Platt. Saxer.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
All right, with that comes the approval of the agenda. Is there anything that we need to change or anything anybody wants to move? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Madam Chair, you need to.
Oh, I need to roll call. Sorry.
Platt. Platt. Schrader.
Yes.
Odie. Yeah. Saxer.
Yes.
Ullum.
Yes. Okay. I'll get that wrong every time tonight, so just remind me. No conflict of interest disclosure or waiver requests tonight. That takes us to our approval of the regular board meeting minutes from February 12th and February 26th. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented tonight.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Odie.
Yep.
Schrader.
Yes.
Saxer.
Yes.
Platt.
Yes.
Ullum.
Yes. Thank you. No community input tonight. That takes us to the financial items, bills and claims. Mr. Lundberg.
Okay, I noted just a couple of the bills on your invoice listing. We had Architecture Incorporated and then also Stockwell Engineers this month. We opened those two bids last month, so we're catching up on the engineering and architect fees on the high school remodel project and the high school artificial turf project. Architecture Incorporated is on page 1 for $29,000. Feel free to ask me any other questions as I'm paging through here, the ones I had noted. Also on page 10, I had the Sioux Falls School District, the Career Academy payment number 2. We purchased 40 slots from Sioux Falls School District for the CTE Academy. $50,000 is the second payment, so there's a total expenditure of $100,000 for those 40 slots. It's a very good program, but it does come at a price. Stockwell Engineers, the bottom of page 10, $66,000. That's for the high school artificial turf project. Total bills of $440,000. Advanced payments breakdown of $3,200.
Oh, hang on.
Yep.
Could you tell us on page 4, Follett School Solutions, Inc., that's Links Way Reading, at 11K?
Page 4, I didn't hear you. Follett? That's for the books that we bought for the kids. The take-home novels, or Jared would probably.
Sure. Member Klatt, I would note that those dollars, the $11,253, $5,000 and change would come from the Brandon Community Foundation grant that we received, and then we also received a $1,000 grant from Sioux Valley Energy. And then in addition to that, the community card funds that we received from First National Bank over the course of this year will pay the remaining amount of the Links Way Reading program.
Awesome, thanks, that's what I wanted to hear.
$47,000 in food vouchers and $5,000 in service bills. Any other questions?
Ellie, did you have any questions on financials at all?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the bills and claims as presented tonight.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. Roll call vote, Mr. Lundberg.
Platt. Schrader.
Yes.
Odie. Yep. Saxer.
Yes.
Ullum.
Yes. Financial report.
The cash report for the month of February showed $5.5 million coming in the month, $3.5 million of receipts, and $2.7 million of disbursements, left 6.2 million, majority of it in the general fund. At the end of February, 5.8 in the general fund, 5.8 million, and 341,000 in the pension fund. You'll see in the body of the cash report, back and forth of cash flow loans between the special education fund and the general fund, and the capital outlay fund and the general fund, and the bond redemption fund and the general fund. A lot of interfund transfers there. That's why there's a balance that's needed in the general fund to cash flow all the rest of those funds. $3.5 million of receipts for the month of February. Two of the, what we classify as other revenues are included in this month. Two of the three major ones. School and public lands is $324,000, a third of the way down the page. And bank franchise tax was $556,000, halfway down the page. The last piece of that puzzle will be the gross receipts taxes or utilities taxes, and those won't be known until June. So 2/3 of the other, and those are in good shape versus the budget. Investment report of $1 million, payroll and benefits summary for February, $1,781,000, payroll in February. Then the financial statements, the revenue reports. All the revenues look appropriate for the time frames that we're talking about here. We're 2/3 of the fiscal year done. Then on the expenditure reports, the general fund is the first page, 66.42% expended versus 66.4% last year, so right on pace with last year. I would project the general fund to come in at probably 99.5% at the year end, based on what I'm seeing there. All the rest of the funds are in line with their budgets, unless there's any questions that you would have, particular individual questions on the reports. Food service report shows a net profit at the end of February of $44,000, substantially better than at this time last year. Projecting a $25,000 profit, or budgeted for a $25,000 profit in that fund, and $161,000 of amount that's held for others. Questions?
Paul,
Yes.
how close were you on the bank franchise tax revenue?
We had a budget of $475,000,
Oh, so you're 75.
80,000 over that, so
And then what, why in your food service department, why do we have like a $70,000 change?
some of it might be timing, but the fund is doing substantially better than it was last year at the same time. It's cost of food is down, sales are up. Simple way to explain it, but that's what it is.
Ellie, did you have any questions on the financial report tonight?
Other than how does he do it all? No.
Okay, thank you. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the financial report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. Roll call vote, Mr. Lundberg.
Schrader.
Yes.
Klatt.
Yes.
Odie. Yes. Saxer.
Yes.
Ballum.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. That takes us to administration reports. Administrative Center Superintendent Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just have a few items to note this evening. April 24th, 2018, we'll have our public meeting for strategic planning. Would invite any and all patrons that are interested in that work to join us here at the community room at 5:30 p.m. Also, just a tentative update on our teacher negotiation timeline, wage recommendations. We'll have a pre-meeting with the district administration and BVEA here in late March, and the Personnel Welfare Committee and the administration will meet to prepare for teacher negotiations. Teacher negotiations are set for April 4th. That's one night. Additional dates will be as necessary and/or required. And then tentatively, we have April 9th to ratify the master contract and approve other wage recommendations, salary recommendations, etc. I would note that at our next meeting, I will be bringing our 2018-19 staffing request with additional staffing needs for next school year. And then in addition to that, I want to note we are currently engaged in some discussion surrounding an encore class curriculum change at the Brandon Valley Middle School. That will be at our next meeting. I'm going to include that within our staffing recommendation. But I want to provide you with a heads up on that change. I would tell you that we currently have a natural opportunity to evaluate a change in our encore curriculum offerings there at the middle school. You would remember that we recently had a retirement of a middle school foreign language teacher, and with our potential transition to a one-to-one technology environment at the middle school, the middle school administration, Principal Thorson and Principal Frecking, met with me, and we had some conversation regarding the potential need to develop an encore class to meet the individual needs of our middle level learners. So a few topics that I would note specifically would be digital citizenship, coping skills as we talk about mental wellness with stress and anxiety, and then also our push for post-secondary exploration and expanding our ability to help educate kids regarding our potential career opportunities. So those are some topics that we've had in our initial conversations about the development of an encore class to better meet or to best meet our middle school students. With that, I would note that at our second meeting, we'll also be welcoming the intermediate school. They're going to be sharing a good news presentation regarding a new strategy that they're utilizing to engage parents in. Excited about that. And then would also note for the public school board election timeline, we do have 2 seats that are available. Both seats are 3-year terms. April 10th is the earliest date to circulate a petition. May 11th is the deadline for petitions. I would note that any candidate filing a petition or a nominating petition for the school board because of our size is required to file a financial interest statement with Business Manager Lundberg within 15 days after filing their petition. And then our election date is June 19th, if necessary. I would certainly encourage any and all parties that are interested in contacting the business office for more details. They have all of the required information and documents for interested parties. With that, just a quick update on our legislative session. We received a 1% ongoing increase in state aid, a 0.7% increase in one-time money. The 1% increase is the equivalent of about $50 per student, and then the 0.7 one-time money is the equivalent of about $40 per student, if you would like to put it in perspective. I would note veto day is March 26th, and if you have any interest in the specific passage of bills, what's sitting on the governor's desk versus has been signed, I would certainly point you to ASBSD website. They have a bill tracker, phenomenal resource, and then also SASD also has a legislative bills update that provides insight on each one of those bills. Following the veto day, we will certainly have in engagement with our education departments, associated school boards, and school administrators of South Dakota regarding the session and any additional policies or policy changes that are required due to legislation. So I want to get through veto day before we really dig into that, but would like to provide you with that quick update on the session. And then just a couple items to note regarding this year's academic school calendar. We have conferences tonight and tomorrow night. We want to note there is no school scheduled for this Thursday, March 15th. The comp day is March 16th. We have spring break coming up. April 13th is an in-service day. We have no school. The calendar change that we need to note and we need to communicate to our public is that we will hold school on April 27th, which was our second snow day. So that's all I have this evening. Would certainly entertain any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Larson. Business Manager Lundberg, anything else tonight? Okay. High school, Dr. Talcott, Mr. Schleckway? Nothing? Okay, and middle school, I think, I was going to say otherwise, I think you're busy. Yep. All right. Mr. Skibsted and Mr. Frecking are probably busy. Anything, Mr. Babb, tonight for special services? All right. Ms. Foster? Mrs. Hoffkamp? Mr. Horst? Mrs. Palmer? Okay, thank you. Ms. Stotero, anything tonight? Okay. Mr. Henschel? Okay. And Mr. Marceau, anything tonight? Okay. We'll let you get by with it this time. All right. That takes us to general business. Item number 1, Brandon Valley Athletic Booster Club Outdoor Stadium Video Board Project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Administratively, Mr. Marshall and I recently met with and spoke with the Athletic Booster Club leadership, and they would like to speak to the board and present a proposal regarding our outdoor activity facility and potential video board upgrades and some other items. So at this point in time, I would welcome President to the mic and or a Booster Club representative and move forward. Thank you.
Okay, so we wanted to come and talk to you about, I think, as far as history goes, the Indoor Activity Center, about 5 years ago, the athletic club, or the Athletic Booster Club, helped find sponsorship to purchase the indoor board, sold advertising, and we had 5-year agreements with the sponsors for that board. That board's now completely paid off. The Booster Club took out the loan, and now that's a revenue income source for the Booster Club to allow us to purchase things for our athletes, help with capital requests, helping to alleviate maybe some of the requests that they get from the school board. So we have an income stream there. We are wanting to kind of duplicate that process for the outdoor, the new outdoors, well, it's not new, but with getting the turf and things, we want to duplicate that process and get a video board for out there where we would be, to pay for that, obviously go out and get sponsorships again, to have that pay for the board, and then have another income source, in 5 to 6 years, depending on kind of what we are able to negotiate with sponsors. So that's kind of what we're here to kind of ask permission to continue on with that process. We've started the process getting bids on the board, those types of things, and then we're now ready to maybe go talk to sponsors about it, and we just need kind of your blessing that that's okay, to kind of go forward and to be able to, sell advertising in our packages, video, static, those types of advertising in the packages. So that's kind of what we're here about. We've given you some mock-ups of the different, the band, the track, soccer, football will all be using that outdoor stadium, so it will be a little bit more with getting soccer to use that. There'll be more activities there. You can see like the video board with track could potentially maybe we could get some larger meets and things here. So, and this is our long-term planning committee. So feel free to chime in on anything. What questions do you have, I guess? Sure, go ahead.
I'll just make a comment that, back 5 years ago when this was put into the gymnasium, so there's a financial aspect of it that goes to the Booster Club. The Booster Club currently raises a bunch of their income revenue on an annual basis from their Pigskin Classic. That's also very dependent on weather, and so there were some smart decisions that the executive team with the Booster Club took 5 years ago to put this in place, and we're in a position now to where we look back and it's like, thank goodness we did that. It's working. And in addition to that, the experience that we think the students and the athletes have by having that video board in the gymnasium is paying off. And we simply just want to replicate that on the outdoor stadium.
Real briefly, I want to just address a couple of things in relation to the way that we have partnered with the community to make these things happen. We are going to go out and try to do the same thing that we did, as we mentioned, with the indoor board, And we actually call these sponsorships partnerships with the local advertisers. And advertising sometimes is considered to be a negative thing. And I want to assure the board that what we're seeking to do here is to not only provide the equipment and the better improvements for the facility, but also some educational opportunities that go along with that type of facility. The reason why we say that is because, as you know, if you watch Lynx TV and participate in person at the games here with the inside board, that benefits not just the student athletes who are performing on that court or in that stadium, but they're also providing some opportunities for classroom learning. And our students get the chance to use the equipment, which is called the TriCaster, which provides different camera angles. Those are combined into the shots that are actually broadcast for our local patrons or those who are far away and want to see that on the internet. We'd like to do the same thing in the outdoor board, and in addition to that, there'll be some additional things that we can do with this type of a facility, and we're looking at the possibility of it, to maybe even expanding that, to allow for our students to have opportunities to know what they would need to do if they were in a marketing program or doing something along those lines as a career, and how they would not only operate the equipment, but what you do with some of the things that could be advertised on that type of facility. And we're not looking to do something like commercials that you'd see on your local TV, but what we're talking about is something tasteful and that would complement the environment that we're in and give these kids an opportunity to learn things like how to put together an athlete of the month or the student of the week. It doesn't have to be athletics that we would present on this board. And you know that we're going to use that facility outdoors for band, for other things, and what we need to do is create this revenue stream with our partnerships so that we can provide those opportunities, and we're going to need to probably pay people to do some of the things like operate the cameras, put together some of the graphics and other things, and that way we'll be able to provide for that opportunity, but also put away some money for maintenance of the facility as well. So both the indoor board, which is getting older, that camera equipment and the software and everything that goes with it, and then the outdoor board, if we're allowed to do that, we'd put that money into our sinking fund, so to speak, going forward to use it not only for supporting the things that we already do, including scholarships and other things for the Booster Club, but also to have that money set aside. So we're operating for not only the rainy day if we don't have good success with the pigskin because of weather or whatnot, but also to take care of things when they do break down. So that's the foundation for it, and I'm going to get that out there so you understand that we do want to have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to advertising, and we'll make sure that we coordinate that with administration, again, tastefully, but also look at other opportunities and really expand, if we can, those things that the kids get to learn how to do.
So what are your preliminary estimates for cost of the project, and what are the preliminary, or the proposed rather, sponsorship or partnership dollar levels? Those are my first two questions, and then my next question is, if my memory serves me correctly, when we talked about the video board in the gymnasium, it was the directionality at that time, understanding that times changed, but it was the directionality at that time that advertising would be relatively static. And I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. This would not be static advertising, right?
Right, that's what we're asking. We're asking for permission to possibly do more than static advertising. In talking to Daktronics and going to sporting events at other institutions, a lot of them are using more video board, the capabilities that the video boards can do. They can do commercials, they can do this student of the athlete sponsored by Pizza Ranch or whoever. Different things like that to basically make it more beneficial for the sponsors who are, donating a large sum of money to the boards, but then also we want to be able to, feature and show more things and draw more attention to the board and the capabilities that it has. Preliminary estimates, we're still kind of negotiating that, but the board that we've kind of shown you, depending on some features, is ranging between $400,000 and $420,000. The sponsorship levels depend. We haven't quite figured those all out exactly yet. We're actually in the process of negotiating reinstating the indoor board first, and then we're finding out interest levels of those existing sponsors. And then depending on that, we have a couple different strategies depending on if we get one major sponsor and then some other smaller ones. But obviously, our goal is the advertising to have it pay for the board within 5 years. Is kind of what, when we break down the numbers in our final, that's what our goal is, to have it pay for itself.
Just in case there are any concerns that you're going to go to a event out there and you're just going to see advertisements from beginning to end, is, of course, from our standpoint, is that anything would be done in coordination with the administration. Anything would be approved from an advertising standpoint, and it would really be in the light of enhancing the experience. I mean, pick the Acme Student of the Month. It's a way that gets that out there. It's positive, we think, in a lot of ways. In addition to that, it draws in additional sponsors.
Any other questions?
Has the Booster Club adopted, I don't know exactly the right way to say it, a list of acceptable partners we want to partner with and a list of unacceptable or
our initial conversations are with people who have already helped us with the indoor board, because obviously we want to be, but then beyond that, we were, if those people wouldn't be interested, we were going to be going to the Chamber of Commerce, the Brandon Chamber of Commerce, to see maybe what interest we had there. I guess, is that, or how would you want us to?
Well, there's business models and there's you can find chamber companies that are members of the chamber that are in business structures and types, and the purpose of the business may not be appropriate for a school and education setting.
Right.
And I've just kind of thrown that general thing out. You may want to identify these are the acceptable service type, whatever type of business, and then these are not. You kind of know where I'm going a little bit, but
Yeah.
just
I think
we just got to be careful with the type of businesses that are out there. But
Okay.
so.
What type of maintenance have you had with the one inside here? Have you had much problem with
We
this?
did have a TriCaster that, after its warranty was up, that we did have to replace, and that was a $12,000 expenditure, and that was like it had a 2-year warranty, and it had a problem shortly after the 2-year warranty. So, but that's part of where we're wanting to put into our budget, so we have money to replace things like that. And we did take care of that expense, obviously, ourselves. And
So you would foot the whole bill. You foot the whole bill in for maintenance and upkeep on this one.
we
in here?
do, yes.
Okay. Looking at these pictures here, how tall will this proposed video board be? What are the dimensions?
You can see the one picture where it is next to the goal post. To kind of give you so it is big, but so comparatively to the,
16 by 28.
I think, are you asking about the overall structure or the actual video board part?
Are you putting it on top of the scoreboard that's there now, or will it be all brand new?
It would be a new structure, I believe, right? Yeah. I believe it will be a new structure. That is part of the bid.
Just so you know, we're going to repurpose the ribbon message board from the existing scoreboard. So we'll recycle and reuse as much of that as possible, but it'll be an entirely new structure for support and other reasons it has to be built from scratch.
I'm going to ask this one question. I don't know, maybe Randy can even help me. Like, when we come here and watch a basketball game and there's a great shot or a great play or something, and we know it's being televised, On the board, it's never replayed or anything. Is that a state law that you can't replay high school events?
No,
Actually, I actually
I
had
know
that
the
question
answer.
I actually had the question at the Booster Club meeting the other night. And the answer to that is, we do that when we have enough staff. We used to have computer classes that were large enough where those kids all had to, as part of that class, they had to work at an event. With the advent of the one-to-one computer, as Dr. Talcott and Mr. Schleckaway could tell you, we don't have as many kids taking as many computer classes. And so the Booster Club also didn't budget for what they need to pay those kids to work. So there has not been enough staff. Volleyball, there were replays the entire season. There were enough kids. Basketball, we didn't have kids and there wasn't a budget to pay people. That's something that I know the Booster Club has talked about, and if this gets approved, part of their budget will be including more money to pay kids, because you're going to have soccer and you're going to have additional things out there to go all year round, where you can have somebody at the TriCaster, where you can have somebody mixing and showing and doing those things. So it's been done where possible. It was just that sudden not enough kids in those computer classes to help, and Booster Club not budgeting for that.
And that's why with the revenue stream we're going to get from the indoor board, because we're going to treat that separately from the outdoor board, that's going to be a budget item in our budget to operate the indoor and the outdoor boards. And we will, like if there's not enough computer volunteers from the classes, we're going to, maybe then those kids would like to get a part-time job and do that, for us to pay them to do that for that game or whatever, because they'll have the experience to do it. And if, hopefully, as kids find that out, more and more will get interested in maybe wanting to do that, and a little part-time job for some kids.
Are you getting a sense of the current sponsors of the indoor board wanting to re-up?
We're having meetings next week about the indoor board, so we're just kind of starting that process. Our process is to have that all completed by the end of the month, where we kind of get a feeling for the indoor, the interest, and then in April, if we kind of thought we should come here first to just see what we can do. We want to, with Daktronics helping us make some tasteful packages of what's appropriate and kind of what other schools are doing, then to be able to go to them with a package, this is what you would get with this size package or this size package, based on kind of where we feel what we can do for advertising.
With the size of that, I'll call it signage. If you haven't done so already, you might want to check with the city of Brandon. We've had some challenges with even putting the name on some of our new schools. So it sounds like you're already on it, but just a heads up on that.
I think your efforts should be applauded. You have my support.
Thank you.
Member Saxer, do you have any questions for the Athletic Booster Club regarding outdoor stadium video board project?
No, thank you for all the details in the presentation.
Madam Chair, with that, I would recommend the board take action and approve the BV Athletic Booster Club to seek sponsorship for the outdoor activity complex video board to include the use of video advertising, with the understanding the BV Athletic Booster Club will submit a document for approval outlining the terms of the agreement in the near future.
Would anyone like to make the motion that was just stated from the recommendation?
Yep, so moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Klatt. Schrader.
Yes.
Odie. Yes. Saxer.
Yes.
Ullem.
Yes. Thank you very much. Good luck. And we're here when you need us. All right. That takes us to the next one. Brandon Valley Middle School one-to-one technology initiative presentation. There will be no action on this, just presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we've been talking about over the course of of this last year, we've come to a point in time where we'd like to provide you with a one-to-one technology proposal regarding our middle school, provide the opportunity for additional questions, discussions, feedback at the board level, and move forward. So real quickly, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the development process here. In the spring of 2017, I administered a teacher needs survey, and an item that came to light at that point in time was the middle school teachers had identified the need for additional access to technology within their building and within their instruction. With that, I conducted a staff survey of our middle school regarding their interest level in a quasi one-to-one environment, is what I would classify it as. That survey resulted in a follow-up survey with some additional questions and clarification points needed. From there, I would tell you that I met with a small group of middle school staff members, specifically the social sciences teachers. I was able to get over to a curriculum meeting and engage in some conversation with them regarding the movement to a one-to-one environment, and get some feedback and speak to them about the potential. From there, I would tell you that we engaged in conversation with our middle school administration, Principal Thorson and Principal Frecking, and I engaged in substantial conversation regarding a quasi one-to-one environment, a full implemented one-to-one environment, and some of those items including type of device, etc. So we engaged in those administrative conversations. Principal Thorson did meet with his entire staff and sought feedback and insight. And then most recently, we again met as an administration, and then ultimately took a look at and continue to look at our budget potentials for such a one-to-one initiative. So that's just a little overview of kind of the proposal development process. I would note a few key findings through the process. Our middle school staff prefer an HP with a Windows operating system. So the original question posed to the middle school staff was, how would you feel about a Chromebook and a Google platform, a web-based platform? And again, like I said, we found that they prefer the HP devices that they currently had, and their usability and functionality, and also the Windows operating system. Another item that was brought to light was moving to a lesser quality device was likely going to be problematic for classroom instruction, functionality, and usability of the device. So we currently have HP ProBook laptops, which are a nice device that are carded at the middle school, and the concern of moving away from such a device to a less expensive device that didn't have quite the functionality was a concern. Microsoft Office is heavily used, so that's why we talk about needing that Windows operating system and utilizing Microsoft Office through classroom instruction projects, etc. That was an item found within the second survey. The initial one-to-one environment proposed was a quasi one-to-one environment where there was a check-in and check-out approach. And I would tell you that within that approach, we found significant challenges. So number one, class scheduling. It would require alteration to our current schedule that would have the students be in the same place at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. So if you think about it like a homeroom at the beginning of the day and a teachers as advisors at the end of the day, even if only 10 or 15 minute chunks, that would pull ultimately 20 minutes from classroom instruction throughout the day. So that was a challenge that we talked through when we talked about the quasi environment. Additionally, we talked about the management issues that come with the checking in and checking out of the devices. Additional charging stations. Teachers would have to monitor whether or not a device was checked out for nighttime use or home use. Some of those types of items were also considered and found to be potential significant challenges with that quasi environment, or the check-in, check-out like environment. additional concern regarding teacher burden. So our teachers would be burdened with the management of checking devices out in the morning and then checking them back in at the end of the day. And if they weren't checked in, do they need to go to the office and some of those things. So there was a level of concern regarding burden placed on our teachers, an additional burden placed on our teachers with that check-in and out approach. And then very possibly the most important item that I would note is student usability issues. So we infuse the technology into our instruction, and then students receive assignments, homework, projects, etc. Usability goes away because now they have to check them out if they want to take them home versus having the ability to just take them home and utilize them. So that was an additional item that I would note. And then, to be completely honest, some of our middle school staff would prefer a cart per classroom approach. So basically what that would do is that would put a 30-unit cart in every single one of our general education classrooms except PE and music. From some quick math on that, the additional number of devices you would need for that type of approach is approximately 50. It's a little less efficient because you'll have devices just sitting during a prep period, etc. But the point is it's a little less efficient. Cost is $30,000 or $40,000 more if you think about the cost per device. So I would note that some staff suggested a per cart classroom approach. So a couple of options that we researched, and then I'll speak to you about the findings. Option A is new devices. New device, HP ProBook laptop, very similar device to what we currently have available in the middle school, $630 for a total of $441,000. We plugged in a number of $70 per device, and I would label that as protective sleeve / other, whether that be licensing, whether that be a third-party insurance, whether that be a few things. We plugged in that $70 number to cover that cost. So you're looking at approximately $500,000 every 4 years with our devices on a 4-year rotation for new devices of right quality that they currently have. Another item that I would tell you that was evaluated was utilizing new devices and our current devices. So we have 350 devices currently at the middle school. As they age, you need new batteries, you need to replace keys, you need to replace screens, you need to replace those types of items. Estimated $200 to $300 per device to refurbish plus shipping. Reader's Digest version is that was not a very effective use of dollars when we compared costs. And the fact that you're still getting 350 4-year-old machines, we deemed that not the best route to go. And then option C, which was an item that I was originally very interested in and I thought had the potential to be a very cost-effective way of us to implement a one-to-one environment, is a refurbished device. I will tell you quite frankly, I have not found a vendor that has been able to supply us with 700 of the devices that we have asked for. They just strictly don't have the quantity. They have 150 of this and they have 175 of this. So that is basically off the table as we're unable to fulfill such a request, or the vendor's unable to fulfill such a request. So those were the options that we basically found, or I should say researched, and our findings would indicate that option A would be our choice if we so chose to implement a one-to-one program at the middle school. So with that, I want to just give you a snapshot of what that really would look like regarding the one-to-one program. So each student would receive a HP ProBook laptop, a very similar device, similar functionality, usability that they currently have. They receive a charger and a protective sleeve. Estimating a $20 insurance fee, just like we do at the high school level. Right now, I believe the high school is a $35 insurance fee for a device that's $1,100 or $1,200. I believe there is an option for them to decline that insurance and place it on their homeowner's insurance. So we would recommend a $20 insurance fee on such a device. Appropriate use and parental consent paperwork would be required prior to the distribution of our devices. We would provide parents a resource on digital citizenship and digital citizenship tips for home. For example, charge your device in an office away from your child. That goes for both a laptop and a cell phone. Those types of things included within our communication to parents. We would have mandatory digital citizenship training prior to distribution for our students. The devices would be distributed after the first week of school. So if you recall how our school calendar works, usually we start on a Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Next year's a Wednesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we would take care of all of that work. And then that next week, Monday, Tuesday-ish, is when we would actually begin to distribute those devices during the school day. So a slightly different approach than what our high school does, because our high school does that distribution prior to the start of the school year. But with the younger students, we felt like we would take this approach. And note, the devices are able to be taken home. Ongoing digital citizenship curriculum, encore curriculum, that's, as I spoke about previously in the superintendent's report, we're evaluating the potential for a natural change right now to an encore class that would focus on digital citizenship, appropriate use of social media, in addition to our post-secondary exploration, career exploration, et cetera, at the middle school. So note that that's an item that is involved in the proposal. And then I would also tell you that assistant principal frecking would be shifted to the middle school for the 18-19 school year. And that is specific to the purpose of providing that additional support for our staff, whether it be instructional strategies, utilizing the technology, and then also additional support services for those students. As there are pros and cons with everything that we do, knowing that we may deal with some additional administrative items at the middle school with the move to a one-to-one environment. So that would be the concept for the 18-19 school year. So budget items to note, you've heard previously from Business Manager Lundberg, 5-year plan. As you look at the 5-year plan specifically to next year, we have $750,000 total available for K-12 enhancement and replacement. So if you look at that, previously we would have about $125,000, I believe it's either $125 or $150 in technology replacement for the middle school, because we already had to replace 6 carts at the middle school. So note that, but with that being said, the item that's being proposed, or the proposal, would put you at approximately $260,000 remaining for technology replacements, plus 4 Brandon Valley Middle School carts that could be shifted down, because we have 120 devices at the middle school that aren't at the end of their 4-year lifespan. They're like on year 2. So those can be carted and moved to the elementary and replace some technology that's aging out. And then we would have that $260,000 remaining for technology replacements. I will tell you that with such a cost on enhancement at the middle school level, there will not be a great amount of capital resources available for other technology enhancements. So that's a full disclosure statement to note. So again, recap. New devices, HP ProBook laptops, very similar to what we currently have. A protective sleeve. Students are able to take the devices home. There will be mandatory digital citizenship training, digital citizenship tips and resources provided to parents, ongoing digital citizenship curriculum provided in that encore or swing class, and then assistant principal frecking to the middle school for the 18 19 school year. So with that, I would certainly entertain any questions, feedback, or thoughts that you may have at this time.
How much do we spend annually on the lease payments for the high school computers? And is that part of that $750,000 allotment that we're designating for technology?
Answer to that question is $350,000 to $400,000. That is not part of that $750,000, and it's 4-year lease, correct, Paul? And that would be an ongoing expense, obviously, at the high school level. I would tell you that we have had some conversation about whether or not it would be in our best interest to do a similar 4-year lease with like the middle school program. It does alleviate a little bit of the pressure that you get that first time around. However, that's not the best direction to go when you think about paying interest, et cetera, on that amount of money. If you can help not paying interest, that would certainly be in our best interest. But yes.
Another one then. I'm going to go back to your almost last comment. You said in full disclosure that would mean that there's only, I can't remember the dollar amount, X amount to use for other technology enhancements. So what's being proposed besides, if we have $750,000 to use for technology district-wide, what else is on the table? This is the only information I have, so it's hard to make a decision. This sounds great, but does that mean then that we're going to have to bypass some other astronomically fantastic idea? I would like more info.
So to answer that question, you have $260,000 for replacement of aging out technology. Okay, so that's a replacement of a laptop carded RBE, for example, et cetera. So we're able to replace the technology that needs to be replaced because it's aging out. However, you wouldn't have those available dollars for example, an elementary building asked for 3 additional laptop carts and 2 additional iPad carts for technology enhancement. That wouldn't happen. You would not have the resources available to do that work. I would note that I'm not asking for action at this point in time because we're going to bring our capital outlay, preliminary capital outlay budget to you at our next meeting for your approval, which would indicate all of those items that will be funded. Does that help?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Ellie.
So, in looking at needing to go the technology route for the middle school and curriculum, because obviously that's been something that's been discussed in the technology curriculum committee, this is something that if we don't do it now, we're going to need to do it eventually, because that's obviously where we're going in the world. And talking about the technology needs at the elementary level that may need to be put off for this year. That's something we made. This is more of a reflection statement I just want to put out there. So I understand kind of what you said. Obviously, we only have so many funds. It is what it is. But I think that's something we need to survey. That if we don't do it this year with middle school, it is going to have to be done sooner rather than later because there is that need at that level for them to kind of keep pace, I think, for technology and curriculum. I think that's something for us to survey. And at the younger levels, although we do need to continue to stay on pace with their technology, I don't think it hinders what they need compared to maybe what the middle school needs in order to keep pace. I think I just put that out there for reflection.
Ellie, this is Sandy. I couldn't understand quite the last thing that you were saying. Were you asking a question, or were you just saying that you don't think it hinders what we're doing at the elementary level?
And so this is just one of the reflections. I know that we're going to need, at some point in time, we're going to need to take the bite out of the budget for this middle school environment. Whether it's, at a large number of, or whether we go to one-to-one, whatever, we're going to have to take this bite. And it's not very far off, it's not this year. I know that we need to continue to make the enhancements at the elementary level as well. I get that. But I don't think, I guess we can't put off the middle school much longer if we do it all in order for them to keep pace. I think that's just kind of my reflection as we have looked at the technology and the curriculum balance, where at the elementary level they've been able to do a very good job at continuing to keep pace with the curriculum without as much of technology supplementation. I think that's just something more of a reflection, and I guess, something to reflect on.
So I guess going off what Ellie said, that brings up a good question. Do we have what we need at the elementary right now?
I think the answer to that question is the availability of technology at the elementary is adequate to very adequate. Now, I would be not surprised if there weren't individuals who didn't disagree and say that additional technology was needed and or necessary. I mean, there's always room for more. People will always welcome the ability to utilize more technology. But we just, like you all know, we operate with a finite amount of resources, and we have to prioritize those resources. And I would tell you that this is an item that we've given some strong consideration to and had some conversation about. There are, as we, could we defer the costs over a 4-year period and do more enhancement? Yes, but if we do that, then we're going to have an additional staffing situation to manage the extra number of devices in addition to the 350 that we're already adding. So there are a lot of things at play, I guess, when we talk about how we fund it and whether or not you do it in one chunk versus 4 and some of those items. So that's why the recommendation would be the big bite now, to utilize Member Saxer's phrase.
And I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was just I just wanted to make sure the public knew that, we still have devices in the elementary levels. You're still using them to the, and you're asking for it more if you need it, or adequacy, and you're letting us know. That was the only reason I did it.
Just a thought, good for the public and all of us here, but I think this plan works, and I think as we've all looked at and reviewed the 5-year plan, it works really well as long as we continue to get that 70 to 120 new student body feed coming in, and looking at projections of what's in the past, we've got every reason to believe that will continue. And I think the school district for years has experienced that when those numbers, if that does not continue, then I think our board and the staff are fully capable that we may end up needing to make some adjustments. But right now, I think with that student feed, as our 5-year plan shows, that works. And if something changes, we have to kind of shift on the fly and make some adjustments, whether that's less staff, whether that's more kids in the classroom. But I think those are things that this district has done for years. So I don't think that's anything new.
I'm not saying I disagree with the proposal. I'm just saying I have to go back and look at how we've done things in the past. And I know several years ago there was a process put into place to compete for technology dollars, and hindsight's 2020. In retrospect, maybe had our board understood what the teachers were being asked to do, maybe we could have remodeled or retooled that process, because I'm not sure that was the best process to be used at that time. And I think that process caused some hard feelings throughout different levels of our district. And then the next thing happened. Then we came in and said, we need one-to-one at the high school. We've got to have great computers at the high school. And we bought into that, we agreed to it. But at the same time, you'd be kidding yourselves if you didn't believe that that purchase also caused some hard feelings, because everybody wants a piece of the pie. And I understand we don't have pie to feed to everybody, but before I could feel really comfortable saying, yep, this is what we need because the time is right, I want to know, what are we giving up if we went forward with brand new devices one-to-one at the middle school? That's all I want to know. What are we giving up if we do this? What are we not fulfilling? And we don't have that information right now.
Generally speaking, you would be giving up multiple laptop carts at an elementary or two. You are giving up multiple iPad carts at an elementary or two, potentially other like devices when you think about technology upgrades, whether that's a server enhancement that is, that is requested of $35,000 that you only give 10 to, et cetera. But those would be the types of enhancements that you are not able to get. And like I said, we'll bring our 2018-19 capital outlay preliminary budget to you at the next meeting, and we can certainly act on that and have discussion on that prior to approving such a proposal. But that would be, those are the types of things, for general speaking purposes, those are the types of things that you are giving up that you are not going to purchase because of doing this. It's, when you think about I believe it's $25,000 or $30,000 per cart when you think about 30 units per cart, et cetera. So 10 carts, for lack of a better phrase, spread throughout the district, or 7 carts and 3 iPad carts, or any combination of that.
So let's just say it's 10 carts. Some of those would have gone to the middle school, right?
100 and I believe it's 25,000 or 50,000. That must be 150. Okay, 125,000. What is replacement cost for the middle school? That we were going to have to do regardless, and that would keep our technology at the middle school status quo.
Out of the $750,000.
Correct, yes.
Well, this is my 6th and final year on the board, and one of the things that has been hard to watch is every year we get the budget and we get the recommendations, and we never know what we're giving up if we vote for what we're presented with. And I just encourage this board right now, and I encourage this board in future years to find the answers to that, because it's important to our students, and it's important to our teachers, and it's important to our administrators that this board makes educated choices. And I don't think that we've made choices based on having all of the information that was available. So I hope that you take that with a grain of salt.
The only item that I would note, and it certainly is not a rebuttal, as I completely understand where Member Klatt's coming from. The only item that I would say is administratively we get budget requests and capital outlay requests from a wide variety of places, and we are tasked with the administrative responsibility of prioritizing such requests and aligning them to the available resources that we have, and trying to be as impactful as possible with those finite resources and get the greatest bang for our buck. So that's the only item that I would note, is that the administration does take very seriously their task of prioritizing our needs, not only for the education of our students, but also for the operational component of our school, as we have, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of maintenance work, transportation needs, et cetera. So that's where the capital outlay preliminary budget comes from. It comes from hours and hours of work, prioritizing and utilizing our resources to the best of our abilities when we formulate that recommendation. So.
Thank you for the presentation tonight. Before the next board meeting, if there's other questions, concerns that you have, I would encourage you to speak with Superintendent Larson or Business Manager Lundberg about specifics. So thank you very much. That takes us to general business items, number 1 through 3. I would entertain a motion to approve, I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg?
Odie. Klatt. Schrader.
Yes.
Saxer.
Yes.
Cullum.
Yes. Thank you. Numbers 1 through 7 under personnel, I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented tonight.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. Roll call vote, Mr. Lundberg?
Schrader.
Yes.
Klatt. Saxer.
Yes.
Odie.
Yes.
Cullum.
Yes. Thank you. Communication, there were no building permits this in February. There's a Board of Education note from a ladies group at Celebrate Community Church for your review. That takes us to formal board reports. Does anyone have one that they would like to share tonight? Hearing none, there's a couple travel reports for your review. Then at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session by South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2.1 to conduct superintendent's evaluation.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. Roll call vote, Mr. Lundberg?
Schrader.
Yes.
Odie.
Yes.
Klatt. Saxer.
Yes.
Cullum.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, we are out of executive session, and it's actually now 9:02. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. Roll call vote, Schrader?
Yes.
Klatt?
Yes.
Odie?
Yes.
Saxer is absent. Olem, yes. We are adjourned. Thank you.